Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the channel today. Today I'm going to talk about the win in the Columbus Bass Club on October 29th, 2022. It's about a week late on the video, but I'm going to get it out there for you guys. It was a very tough event for everybody in the event. There was only one team that had a limit. If you guys ain't familiar with the Columbus Bass Club, we fished the strip pits in southeast Kansas, and there's about what is there 20 some pits that we have that we can actually put boats in and fish that are big enough depending on how many boats we have per event. It's broke down by how many boats you can get in each pit, so we draw a pit according to how many boats we have. So this time we drew pit number North 40 that has a boat ramp in it. It's a real clear pit, and it's a really good pit. It's got lots of good grass in it, and it's really deep and clear. But in the fall time, that can be very difficult because it was after a front came through. It was high skies, and like I said, the pit's about 35 foot deep, and there ain't many flats in it. There ain't really much of anything in the shad. We're just out in the middle, and we don't allow electronics or live scope. We do a down sonar. Our down imaging and sonar is all we allow. We don't allow side imaging or any of that. And it's a trolling motor only event. And we fish for 4 hours. So we made it a 3 fish limit since we only fish for the 4 hours, and it's a team event. So it's a pretty cool. It's kind of different from all the other tournaments out there. So it's kind of broke down differently than anything else. So we got out there. We're competing against the other guys. It started out. I wanted to try a Texas rig. That's usually what I go with, a Texas rig and a finesse jig. And I went, for about 2 hours without a bite with that stuff. I had my son with me too, and he was throwing a big hammer ringer worm, which has won one of the events, or two helped win two of the events I've won this year. I've won three now with this one, and that's helped win two of them. And I was throwing the ringer worm as well in between with a little punk, a 2K jigs little punk, and one of our sponsors of Columbus Bass Club is 2K jigs. I was throwing their little punk, and I couldn't get bit on it. I tried different trailers on it. I had three different colors tied on. I tried the three different colors. And then after 2 hours, I really started digging deeper. I did see, because it's kind of the pitch, you can kind of see what other guys are catching them on if you're around them when they're catching them. And the only team that caught a limit, I know they like to throw a wacky rig a lot. So I've seen them catching them, and I was like, oh man. And I heard they had a limit, and I was like, oh wow, okay, so the wacky rig's working. So I tried the wacky rig. Tried a Nico rig. And I could not get nothing to work. We didn't have no bites the whole entire time going. And finally, in the last 40 minutes, had 40 minutes left, and I said, you know what? I was like, this sets up perfect for, a jerk bait. So I went to the jerk bait setup, and for clear water, it is one of my favorite jerk bait setups. It probably is my favorite, not one of my favorite. It is my favorite go-to bait and go-to lure when I need a fish. I have not caught any big fish on them, but if I need keeper fish, that guy right there will get it done. That is a Megabass 110, and that is in Pro Blue color. And you can see it's pretty faded and pretty beat up there. It's got some damage on it this year. I've had it for quite a while, and it has caught me lots of fish, and it's got me out of a couple binds. And it got me out of a bind in this one. I tied it. I actually started off, I first tied on, don't know why I didn't reach for the Pro Blue yet, but I reached for the another jerk bait that I like, which is the Berkley. Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of it now here. Now I'm doing that video. I can't remember the name of it. It's the Berkley, the new one they got that kind of sinks slow. I can't remember the exact name of it. So I went to it and went out with it, and I threw it for about, about 15 minutes, something like that. And then I tied on the Pro Blue, and I threw the Pro Blue for about what was it, about 5 minutes or so, and that's when I caught that fish, and me and my son were stoked. We didn't think we'd win the tournament yet with just that one fish, but we're like, woo, yeah, and I was like, oh man, I never been so really, I was mind boggled the whole tournament until it finally, it came to me, and I'm like, okay, jerkbait, and then that's when it happened. And where did I go with the jerkbait was the main thing, because I was fishing along, and I noticed I went in one end of it, and I noticed there were some flats as I was out in the middle of the pit, and I did have the sonar on, and I noticed, and I also seen it because it was so clear, there was some grass out, and it got real shallow from 30 foot, to 15 foot, and I was out in the middle of the pit, and I was like, well, man, that's kind of weird. And I was like, there must be some flats there. So I was like, you know what? I fished these. There was 2 points that were really good looking in there. And I fished those first, and then I was like, there was another team fishing there, and I was like, you know what? I put the trolling motor on high. I had to zoom it back to the other end of the pit because, at this point I had 30 minutes left. And I was like, okay, let's zoom it back here. I told my son. So we went back there, went to that flat, and there was a first flat, which earlier in the event I actually watched one of the teams that had a limit. They caught a fish off that flat. I didn't know that flat was there yet. I'd only been to that pit once before. And I was like, okay, let's start with this one. I know there's fish there. I really like the one that was further down, but I didn't have enough time to go to it. So I stopped right there and I just fished that flat. Like I said, I switched over to the Pro Blue. Once I switched over to the Pro Blue, bam, I got that bite. There was 20 minutes left. It was just barely 15 inches. It got to be, it's another thing with the Kansas. We got slot limits that are really weird. You can't keep them between 13 to 15 inches. So it was luckily 15 inches, so we can keep them under 13 and over 15. That's how the team with the limit did not win. I'll get to that here in a minute. So we had that, and I caught that one fish. It was barely 15 inches, but I heard another team had one like 16 inches, so I was like, crap, I'm like, this. Well, at least I got a fish. I was worried about the points. I was worried about the points because if I could get this win, I at least had to catch a fish to be up there in the running for Team of the Year. And if I got a victory, I could be up there even closer, which ended up, I'll get in that here in a minute, I ended up taking over first place, and I'll explain all that to you here next. So we get into weigh-in. The first team weighs their fish. They just had one little one. The first team did. Only 4 teams caught a fish. The first team had one little one. I think it was like 4 ounces or 6 ounces. It was a little big guy. So I was like, okay, well, there's one out of the way. Okay, the biggest thing was getting those points. So I got the points. So I was like, okay, I'm happy with whatever happens here. I got my points. I can still be in it for Team of the Year. So the next team weighs in. That was the team with the one fish that was the bigger one, is a 15-incher. And they weighed in last. They weighed in right before I did. So the next team was the team that had to limit, and they weighed in 1 pound 2 ounces because there was just little bitty. They were even calling them little bitty ones. They caught quite a few fish. They said around 10 fish. I think they said they caught. So they were catching pretty good compared to everybody else because there was only 4 teams that brought in a fish, and I mean I got one. One team got one. There was only three fish between 3 other teams. That actually had caught the fish. So it was pretty tough fishing there, but. Then the next team weighed in, and they weighed in a 1 pound 7 ounce bass, and I was like, oh man, okay, I got to weigh in my fish. What's going to happen here? So I got my fish and weighed it in last, and it came out 1 pound 9 ounce, and I was like, oh man, that is awesome. It might have been the other way around too. I don't remember if I weighed in first, they weighed in first, but whichever one it was 2 ounces. We won by 2 ounces, 1 pound 9 ounce. One big bass too, so that's a couple times I've won big bass, so was pretty nice to get that done. And then the biggest thing is I took over Team of the Year, and I pretty much control my own destiny. So this is, the breakdown of this, the club said, is I basically, if I get first or second in the next event, then I will be Team of the Year. That'll be 2 years running. So that is a big thing. That'll be sweet. That'll be pretty cool. I love that. And I will get another opportunity to go to the Bassmaster Team Championship next year. I'm going this year, so that'll be really cool. I go there here in a couple weeks, so it'd be really cool to go back again and get another shot at it. Hopefully I can win that this year and go to the Bassmaster Classic. That is the ultimate goal. So if I win first or second, I'm automatically in. I win Team of the Year. Now, if I finish lower than first or second, there's one team that can beat me, and that team has to win in order to beat me. And then we will be tied in a Team of the Year. So that'll put us tied. But then the tiebreaker is whoever has the most wins is the first tiebreaker. And then if they end up winning, they'll have 3 wins, just like myself. And my son will have 3 wins. So the next tiebreaker is the biggest stringer of the year, the biggest limit. And right now, I hold that biggest limit between me and them. Unless they catch one, it's 5 pounds something. It's our biggest 3 fish limit. It's been a real tough year for everybody. So if they win and they break that, which there's some really good pits in there, and you can break that with just 1 fish. So it still ain't locked in, but I just got to focus on first or second place. If they get first, I get second. It's boom, that's it. If I can just lock it in and win it, I did that last year. It was pretty much the same thing. It was the same team too, Matt and Jimmy. They were right on my heels, and all they had to do was, if they would have won, they would have went again last year. So I just have to really put my head down and fish and just make it happen again this year and maybe win the last one just like I did last year. So hopefully I'm pushing for that. And like I said, North 40 is where that pit was. If you guys go in there, even right now, I went out today and tried out some. I was actually throwing the front-facing sonar today, getting ready for the Bassmaster Team Championship at Hartwell. I was throwing that 110 Pro Blue, the Mega Bass 110 Pro Blue. If you guys go out there, tie that on if you're in a clear pit. Even if you're not in a clear pit, they'll still eat it. Just change your colors up. A Pro Blue 2 works really good in dirty water. Clown works really good in the dirty water. So if you guys are out there right now, they're starting to bite jerk baits, and that's just going to get better as the year goes along. Thank you guys.